What's up everybody, Brandon Johnson here again, and thanks for joining me. Today we're taking a look at how to read a basic guitar tab sheet, or at least the way that I write my tab sheets. And a lot of you out there are already familiar with tab sheets, but this is just a real kind of beginner-oriented overview of how to read tabs. So let's check it out. So when you compare a tab sheet to a treble clef, tab sheets are a lot more literal. They're very specific to the guitar, and you can have bass tab or banjo tabs, and those are very specific to that actual instrument, as opposed to a treble clef or sheet music, which is not specific to any particular instrument, and it can be read by several different kinds of instruments, the same chart. Okay, so when you're reading a tab sheet, one of the first things you want to look at is what is the time signature of this particular chart. And the best way to do that is to look at the treble clef. There are 4 beats to a measure, and the quarter note gets the beat. So in bluegrass music, a lot of times what that means is you're going to be playing a lot of 16th notes and 8th notes, and occasionally quarter notes, but rarely are you going to be playing notes that are faster than 16th notes or slower than quarter notes, although there are situations where you do that. So when we look at a tab sheet, you have the 6 strings that are literally represented by the tab. And the way they're represented is bottom to top. So you could think of the low register as being the bottom of the tab sheet, and the high register as being the top of the tab sheet. And if you look at the tab itself, you can see E, A, D, G, B, E written right at the front of the tab. And that indicates the actual string on the guitar that is being transcribed by the tab. And similarly, the numbers of the actual notes on the tab are going to indicate the fret position. And another thing you want to look for when you're reading a tab sheet is whether or not there's a capo being used. So a lot of times you'll see C2 or C4 right at the beginning of the tab, and usually that indicates that there is a capo on the 2nd fret or a capo on the 4th fret, and the position of the notes are and the tab itself is going to be the same. So one of the most important bits of information that's contained on a tab sheet is the stem notation. Now the stem notation indicates to you whether the note is a quarter note, an 8th note, a 16th note. Another bit of information on tab sheets that you want to look for is the pick direction. So when I write my tab sheets, the pick direction is represented by a little down arrow or a down triangle and an up triangle. So obviously the down arrow is going to be your downstrokes, and the up arrow is going to be your upstrokes. And usually that's represented just directly below the stem notation underneath the tab. Also, you'll see, just like in a regular treble clef, we have the chords that are represented directly above the tab itself, which is where the chords will actually be played when this particular piece is being played in real time. So that's very similar to a regular treble clef where you just have, you know, the chords just directly above the clef itself. And then of course, just like in regular notation, musical notation, we have repeat signs and end bars. So if you see a repeat sign like this, you're going to be repeating that particular phrase or that particular set of bars all the way back to where you have your opening repeat sign. So when we look at just a really basic example here of quarter notes on a tab sheet, and we have 4 quarter notes here, and they're being represented by the open G string. And these are quarter notes, so you're only going to be playing 4 of these. You can see the stem notation is just a straight line all the way down, and that indicates a quarter note. Okay, so there's your 4 quarter notes, and you can see the pick direction notation there. So I'm playing a downstroke, followed by an upstroke, followed by a downstroke, followed by an upstroke. And that's called alternating picking. And similarly, if you wanted to play these quarter notes as 8th notes, you would see, instead of 4, you would see 8. And those 8 notes would be connected together. You can see the stem notation there, how they're connected together, and that indicates an 8th note. So you're going to have 8 notes in a 4-beat bar. Right, so that bar is the same duration of time, you're just going to have 8 notes instead of 4 notes. And then similarly with 16th notes, you can see how all these notes are physically actually closer together in the tab. And also the stem notation, you can see it has a double bar at the bottom instead of the single bar, like with the 8th notes. So those are 16th notes, and they're going to be played a lot faster. And of course, this exact same notation can be represented across different strings as well. So here we have kind of a little alternating picking part here between the G string and the B string. And of course, these are 8th notes. You can see that they're connected by the stem there. And we have a down, up kind of pick direction going on here. So I hope you enjoyed this brief overview of how to read a guitar tab sheet. And this is really the basis of all of my lessons, the beginner ones, the intermediate ones, and the more advanced ones. And this is just kind of the system of notation that I use to tab out these different melodies and these different songs that we cover. So head on over to my website and check out the rest of the lessons at brandonjohnsonguitar.com. And until then, we'll see you next time.